present a case of pediatric adrenocortical carcinoma. So this patient was a 13 years old girl, and she presented to us with history of growth retardation, weight gain, difficulty in getting up, snoring, and exertional dyspnea. And these symptoms were present since 8 months to 6 months duration. And initially she consulted a general physician, and she was started on antibiotics, antitussives for respiratory tract infection. Problem subsided. After that she started developing facial hair, and she was referred to Banaras Hindu University Institute of Medical Sciences, and there during evaluation she was found to have left suprarenal mass. And following that, this patient was referred to us, and she did not have history of any renal calculi or bony pain, no history of headache, palpitations or sweating, no history of diplopia, and she did not have any history of diabetes, tuberculosis, hypertension or asthma. And she did not have any significant family history. So on examination, her height was 143 centimeter, 10th centile for her age, weight was 46 kg, 50th centile, blood pressure was 120 by 80 millimeter of mercury, bone age was 12 years. She did not have any pallor, icterus, cyanosis, clubbing or lymphadenopathy. And she had Cushing stigmata, round facie, buffalo hump, and facial plethora, which can be seen in this clinical photograph. So on clinical examination, thyroid was non-palpable, and she had bilateral vesicular breath sounds. Cardiovascular system examination was normal, and abdominal skin has tinea corporis and cruris. There was no mass or any other organomegaly, and central nervous system examination was essentially normal. This is her abdominal photograph showing tinea over abdominal wall. So she was further evaluated with 1 milligram overnight dexamethasone suppression test, which was non-suppressible. Even simple 8 AM serum cortisol was also high, and her serum dihydroepiandrosterone sulfate was also high, and serum testosterone was high. 24 hours urinary metanephrines and normetanephrines were within normal limits. Ultrasonography abdomen revealed approximately 9 into 6 centimeter complex hypoechoic left suprarenal mass. We did a contrast enhanced CT examination of the abdomen, and there was a well-defined, large and heterogeneously enhancing mass in left suprarenal region, and the planes with surrounding structures were well preserved. So we further did bone scan for metastatic workup. There was no evidence of skeletal metastasis, and high resolution CT thorax revealed no pulmonary metastasis. So with the diagnosis of mixed hormone producing left suprarenal mass, most likely adrenocortical carcinoma, we planned her for open transperitoneal left adrenalectomy. Intraoperatively, there was no ascites, no liver nodule or any periaortic lymph nodes, and mass was present only mass was present in left suprarenal region, but there was no adhesion with the surrounding structures. So left adrenalectomy specimen weighed 204 grams. It was 11 into 10 centimeter size, and cut section was grayish white with areas of necrosis. So post-operative course was uneventful, and she was discharged on post-operative day 10. Her histopathology report, there was there was a tumor with areas of capsular invasion, which we can see here, and vascular invasion, which we can see in this slide, and with multiple areas of necrosis. And tumor cells were arranged in lobulated pattern with fine thin septa lining these cells, and individual tumor cells were large, hyperchromatic, with large nucleoli. So ultimately she was diagnosed as adrenocortical carcinoma. So post-operatively, her hormone levels were repeated and they were within normal limits at 6 months follow-up. So I will briefly just present review of literature.
Dr. Sanjay, before you go on to present review of literature, can we ask you what made you suspect that this child was suffering from adrenocortical carcinoma and it is not adenoma?
Yes, ma'am. First, clinically, this patient had features of Cushing syndrome. So in pediatric age group, more of the adrenocortical carcinoma are functioning. So that was clinical pointer towards diagnosis of malignancy. And on biochemical evaluation, she had her overnight dexamethasone suppression test was non-suppressible, and she had high DHEAS and testosterone levels. So this was again a pointer towards malignancy. And further, on contrast enhanced CT of abdomen, this mass was very big, more than 10 centimeter, and it was heterogeneous enhancement, showing heterogeneous enhancement. This again was a pointer towards malignancy.
So, but is it not true that diagnosis adrenocortical carcinoma as such is very difficult, and particularly so in children? So what criteria did pathologists use in order to diagnose?
Yes. In pediatric age group, there is a different criteria for diagnosis of adrenocortical carcinoma, which is a modified Winnicke criteria, as compared with adult, where a modified Wies criteria is used. So in Winnicke criteria, again, weight of the tumor is also taken into account. And apart from capsular invasion, vascular invasion, or any local infiltration of the tumor.
Yeah, as you said, diagnosing malignancy is not so easy in adrenal lesion in children, and in fact, many a times pathologists would like to label these as adrenocortical neoplasms. They are not non-committal about benignity or malignancy of these lesions, and many criteria which denote malignancy in adult could be present in children. As you rightly pointed out, that the weight of the lesion is one of the important indicator of malignancy in children, and even armed force pathology criteria rely on that. So it's very important to emphasize that these children need to be kept under close surveillance in order to be sure about the diagnosis, because in future these could present with distant metastasis, and as is true for pheochromocytoma, adrenocortical carcinoma also, if there is local invasion of the other organs, if nodes are present or if there is distant metastasis, then only the diagnosis is certain regarding malignancy of these tumors. So I will now request you that you please go ahead with review of literature.
Okay, I will briefly just review the literature regarding pediatric adrenocortical carcinoma. So adrenocortical carcinoma per se is a rare malignancy which is associated with very aggressive biological behavior and very poor outcome. The reported incidence in literature is around 2 cases per million populations, and it shows a bimodal age distribution with 2 reported peaks of occurrence, one each in early childhood and 4th to 5th decades of life have been noted. And it constitutes only 0.2% of all malignancies in individuals younger than 20 years. The clinical manifestations and biologic behavior of pediatric adrenocortical carcinoma is slightly distinct from adrenocortical carcinoma observed in adulthood. So this is it could be associated with few genetic disorders like Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome, Carney's, MEN1, and Lee-Fraumeni syndrome. So, in one distinct difference from adult ACC is that approximately 90% of pediatric ACCs are functional, and virilization alone or in combination with signs of overproduction of other adrenal hormones is the most common clinical presentation. Isolated Cushing syndrome is rare, and non-functional tumors are only 10%. So this is incidence of pediatric ACC according to age, and most common age group is 5 to 15 years in pediatric age group. And as I said, most common clinical presentation is virilization in approximately 55%. Then second most common is mixed hormone producing, which is approximately 30%. And as I said, functioning tumors are approximately 90%. Incident loma is seen, they present as incident loma in approximately 6 to 10%. So recent literature has increasingly reported a slightly higher incidence of functioning tumor, and the reason for this shift lies in the extent of hormonal evaluation, which is currently being undertaken by different centers. And the proposed explanation for more prevalent virilizing tumors in children is that their ACC originate from persistent fetal zone of adrenal cortex, which has propensity to produce DHEAS. So diagnosis, CT scan apart from hormonal workup, CT scan abdomen is necessary, and one criteria is size. If any adrenal mass is more than 6 centimeter size, then chances of being malignant is more than 25%. So usually on CT we find a inhomogeneous mass with irregular margin. There could be local infiltration and sometimes calcifications. So MRI can be done, but it is usually done to see intra IVC involvement, and it is superior to CT in detecting IVC involvement. And coming to role of FNAC or biopsy in these cases, and it is not recommended routinely to establish the diagnosis of ACC due to the risk of complications like needle tract metastasis or tumor spillage due to capsular breach. It is advised only in cases of advanced ACC or metastatic disease to reach to a tissue diagnosis. And histological criteria for diagnosis of malignancy is gross examination of the gland. Weight is usually more than 400 gram. There will be hemorrhage, necrosis, and color of the cut surface can be yellow or yellow-orange due to homogeneous black cut surface can be seen. So in children, as I said, there is different criteria for diagnosing malignancy. It consists of tumor weight more than 400 gram, tumor size more than 10.5 centimeter, and other criteria like extension into periadrenal soft tissue, invasion into inferior vena cava, venous invasion, capsular invasion, presence of tumor necrosis, and more than 15 mitosis per 20 high power field, and presence of atypical mitotic figures. And so tumors are defined as malignant when more than 4 criteria are present. In the presence of 3 or less than 3 criteria, tumors are defined as undeterminate or benign. And hormonal workup usually routinely it must consist of to evaluate for glucocorticoid excess, sexual steroid excess, mineral corticoid excess can be taken up if patient is hypertensive and associated with hypokalemia. And to rule out pheochromocytoma, urinary metanephrine or plasma-free metanephrine is advised. So there is currently increasing role of PET CT scan in detecting metastasis in these patients, because these tumors are have very high propensity for metastasis. So either we can do individual scanning to look for metastasis, or PET scan can be done, which is one go investigation. So staging criteria for childhood adrenocortical carcinoma is also different from adult carcinoma. And stage 1 is defined as tumor which is totally excised, and tumor volume is less than 200 centimeter cube without any metastasis, and there is normal hormonal levels after surgery. Stage 2 is microscopic residual tumor, stage 3 is gross residual tumor, and stage 4 is tumor with distant metastasis. So treatment is surgery. Complete surgical removal is the best option for cure, and R0 resection is a strong predictor of long-term survival. So, but in the presence of metastasis, the tumor debulking is debatable, and it can be taken up if tumor debulking can be achieved by more than 90% in cases of hormone secreting ACC, which is causing severe debilitating symptoms. And management of metastasis or local recurrence, again surgical resection is indicated if both primary and the metastasis can be removed, and local recurrences, if operable, can be resected. And in cases of advanced disease, adjuvant radiotherapy is recommended, but very little data is available. And coming to medical treatment, mitotin has been used since long for medical management of ACC, and objective tumor regression is seen in approximately 25% of the patients. But problem with mitotin is compliance with the patient, because it is highly toxic drug with very narrow therapeutic window. So starting dose is 1.5 gram per daily, which is increased to approximately 5 gram per day, and serum levels are measured after 2 weeks and should be maintained between 14 to 20 microgram per deciliter. And role of cytotoxic chemotherapy, currently FERMAC trial is going on, which is a multinational prospective trial, and patients with advanced adrenocortical carcinoma are randomized to 2 protocols, mitotin along with doxorubicin, etiposide cisplatin, or mitotin with streptozotocin. So there are different protocols, and trials are going on. Due to rarity of the disease, well-controlled trials are very difficult to perform in this case. So this is just a diagram depicting the management of ACC in stage 1 to 3 and stage 4 cancer. In stage 1 to 3, complete surgical resection, if possible, should be tried, because it gives only chance of cure. So coming to prognostic factors in children per se, so data from International Pediatric Adrenocortical Tumor Registry shows that good prognostic factors are tumor stage 1, virilization, and age less than 4 years. And poor prognostic factors are incomplete tumor excision, capsule rupture during surgery, or presence of intravenous thrombi. And probability of 5-year event-free survival in ACC is very low, and it is but as compared to adult ACC, it is slightly better in pediatric ACC. Thank you.